go on one of those missions, and it turned out to be the last mission through the Rafah crossing. Those are just some pictures. Keep your attention with me. It was just a time of like unbelievable happiness that I'm going to be able to go to Gaza. Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me to be an activist for Gaza even before October 7, and we continued our work, intensified our work in Toledo and everywhere to support Gaza and Palestine, but nothing felt that it was enough. So I needed to do something more, and Allah gave me the opportunity to go. And as you can see, the Rafah crossing there, the I Heart Gaza, they don't exist anymore, as you know. So we were stationed at the European hospital, and the pictures, as you can see on your right, those are the pictures of the European hospital before October 7. And look on the left, and that's how it looked when we went there. As Dr. Adam mentioned, when we arrived, they told us at least 30,000 people taking refuge in the hospital and around it. Those are the words right there. So you're moving from one ward to the other. Those are the hallways, that filled with people taking refuge in the hospital. They use anything they can find to make tents and just, stay there. When you go to the rooms, the wards, before I went, I was asking so many questions, and I asked about the wards. How do the wards look? And they told me they're not actually wards, they're like apartments. Like a patient would go in there, and then the whole family moves in, and that's what we exactly saw. So the suffering in Gaza there are layers and layers and layers of suffering. From the explosive injuries, which are the main thing that we see on social media, all the main kids, the shredded kids, actually, the beheaded kids that we didn't see on the other side, although we heard all about it. But we do see beheaded kids in Gaza and Palestine, and nobody's talking about it. Then there are the environmental illnesses, the injuries, just because you're living among the rubble. We saw so many cases of people just walking and they injured themselves. Kids falling all the time, injuring themselves so many ways. And of course, the acute illnesses and exacerbation of chronic illnesses, like Dr. Adam said, there's no medicine, and people are living in tents. There's no health care whatsoever for other than the acute trauma. And so I was fortunate that I was the first neurologist to go there, and there was no neurologist at that hospital. There was another neurologist in Nasser Hospital, which wasn't starting that many patients, and he had to worry about his own family. He had to go and secure them, make sure, am I going to move today? Are we going to be evacuated? He wants to provide food and water for them, so he wasn't there all the time. And so when we opened a neurology clinic, it was like a big thing for the people. I started seeing all those chronic illnesses, patients with seizures, with multiple sclerosis, even we had acute patients in the ER. They don't take their medicine for so long, the blood pressure medications, and they end up with a stroke, a bleed in their brain. But the sad thing is that they come to you too late. They're living in a tent, there's no transportation. Even if there's transportation, they don't have money to pay, and then they come to you 2 or 3 days later, and there's nothing you can do then. Or of course, the lack of food and clean water. I have so many friends now from Gaza, and they keep texting me how the water makes them sick. Just the water, just drinking it, it hurts. Like it hurts their kidneys, they say. And we don't know what's in that water. And of course, nutritional deficiencies. Kids have stunted growth. So many complications of vitamin deficiencies that we saw there. Hypocalcemia, like low calcium in the blood for women especially. I've seen so many cases of that. And nowadays, the most urgent thing for them is there are no cleaning supplies, no shampoo. Shampoo is now like the most expensive thing. And if you get shampoo, you're famous, like in Gaza. It's unbelievable. There's a list of things that are not allowed in Gaza, and it's just ridiculous. Like, they don't want them to live at all. And then the weather, of course. In the summer it was so hot, now they're scared what's going to happen in the winter. Those tents will not help them. So we saw some explosive injuries. I didn't deal with them that much. We have doctor here, Muhammad. He's somewhere in the crowd. He was in the ICU, an ICU doctor, an amazing doctor, who took care of those patients. And as you can imagine, there are no resources, and so there was no soap to clean your hands in the ICU, no sheets on the beds. I didn't put too many pictures, but I mean, I didn't really, personally, I didn't like to go to the ICU. All the monitors are going off, beeping everywhere. They're malfunctioning, but we still use them. You have one nurse for the whole ICU or two maximum. So it was unbelievably horrible conditions. And they used to say it's a death sentence for you to go to the ICU as a patient. In the ER, it was always chaotic. That's the ICU. Yeah, next one. It doesn't have to work.
Yeah, the video.
Yeah. So when those injuries come in, there are so many people in that tiny room that has like 4 or 5 beds only. You have patients on the floor. Everybody's shouting, and it was just chaotic all the time in the ER whenever there are explosive injuries. But even without those injuries, in the morning, you will have hundreds and hundreds of people in the ER. Like, they don't see any primary care, they don't see any doctor, and they have a question about one medicine, and they're standing there for hours to see somebody. And the healthcare workers there are like the most amazing people. I do have some pictures. Next. Some more pictures of the ICU. And as you can see, what's underneath the patient and how dirty. On the wards, as I said, can you go back one? You skipped one, but it's okay. So, as I was talking about environmental illnesses and injuries, this is where people were living. This is a school, and a nurse took me with her to where they're staying, and that was a classroom that hosted 6 families, 100 people in one classroom. And her mom was actually collecting wood, because their father stayed in the north, and she had to provide for the family, so she would make ma'moul and sell it by burning the wood. You could imagine what kind of illnesses they would have in those areas. And those are the safe areas. Now there is no such thing as safe, it's never been, no such thing as safe areas. Those schools have been bombed left and right, as you know. But as you can see, people like sewage everywhere, the rubble, the trash everywhere, and so what kind of illnesses they would develop. Moving to the tents when they are asked to be evacuated, and as Dr. Adam said, you have sometimes 5 minutes. They give you 5 minutes and you're out. And you have to run, not forget even your own family members. Some of them, they say, I just make sure that I have my family members. I don't want anything else. And then when they live in the tents, most of the kids get allergic reaction to the sand, it looks like. That's the only thing we can figure out so far. And then nowadays they have all those skin diseases, polio, as you know, hepatitis A was rampant when we were there, and now it's even worse. I saw, as I said, a lot of patients with different medical conditions, but that's why it's just to remind you that those patients do exist, and they do need healthcare. They need somebody to take care of them, and there's nobody. I talked to the doctors who work there now and nurses, and they say when they have those such cases, they just send them away. We don't have a neurologist. And then there are the forgotten ones. I've seen some patients with autism who their parents had to tie them down in the tents because they're afraid they're gonna lose them. One of them, he got so aggressive with all the bombing and the drones and all the noises, and so he would he became very aggressive. He would pull people's hair. They can't even free the hair from his head. And his dad had to tie him down in the tent. Those people have nothing to take care of them, nothing. And this is another kid, Muhammad. We saw him in the ER. He has cerebral palsy. And before the October 7th, he was able to crawl and talk. And then he was bombed in his house. They found him under the rubble. And since that time till now, as you can see, he's just bone and skin. And it's okay, you don't have to play the video. It's just him moving. And he has contractures because he doesn't take his medicine. They can't find any of the medicine.
في عجز في الاطباء، في عندك عجز في الدواء. انا في الاوروبي برضه احنا شلنا مكلفين مش متوفر حاليا. احنا كان متوفر حاليا انقطع عشان احنا كان متوفر معنا خلص جديد. الدواء هذا مكلفين ما فيش شتاء او مكتوب وعلى تيجي كيف دي هذا كتب الاعصاب فيها هذا الاعصاب الدواء اليوم الدواء هذا تبعه 100 دولار للشركه فيش بديل فيش بديل. هذا الاعصاب هذا كله شيء هذا وهذا لا تجري غير في الاعصاب. شايف هذا شكل الاعصاب اعصاب تعقم الولد ما فيش عطام. شايف كيف عطام الولد فيش له صحه عطام وفيش له يعني. احنا قاعدين بدنا نترجاهم. وعملت انا مناشده 3 مرات مناشده له. عملت 3 مرات مناشده طالع كيف العظيم مش يعني عملت مناشد وانا حتى الان بناشد. قلنا له علاج الطبيعي تبع علاج الطبيعي تبع بدنا تغذيات له تغذيات له يعني التغذيات له هذه النصائح ينصح الولد. بدي يرجع ينصح الولد. انا بديش الولد يروح مني. الولد بديش اياه يروح مني. وهذا بناشد كل الدول بناشد كل هذا يجي علاج. فانا بتمنى هنا انه الاقي لاخوي علاج. اخوي يتحسن عنده اعصاب بالمره انا الاقي علاج. وبناشد الكل انه احنا بس انه بدنا علاج وبدنا بمبص حليب. ملتزمات الولد يعني انا ما بدي اخسر اخوي برضه زي ما خسرت اختي.
The video was made by one of my friends who I made there. She's a computer science major, and she just loved to make me videos, and she put the translation. So if the translation was wrong, I didn't change it, I left it there because it's from her. And so it's a humanitarian crisis, we already know that. It's a medical crisis. But I want you to take a moment and think about just the little things, like women in Gaza. They are the ones who are suffering the most because they have to worry about everything, and at the same time they can't take care of themselves, and it's just devastating for them. One time I was asking one of she's a wife of a medical student. I said, so what are you struggling with these days? And she kept telling me about all the major things, but at the end she said, I miss just taking a shower, putting some makeup on, and just, talking to my husband. And this is, we don't think of that stuff now, right? But for them, this has become something that's like, they don't know when it's ever going to happen again. So even think about the little stuff that they're missing. And of course, they're always talking about their future. Every time I talk to anybody, they're just thinking, my future, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They're just amazing people. And I tried when I was there to work on mental health, especially for the healthcare workers. And so I spent my nights not sleeping. Actually, I slept after Fajr for a couple of hours to 4 hours, and we would sit and do halaqas, tafsir al-Quran, we talk, they tell me about their stories, I tell them about my family, and I discovered that those people are the superheroes of the world, those healthcare workers in Gaza. Some of them have been kidnapped, humiliated, tortured, made to confess about things they haven't done by the IOF, and then released to the south, from the north to the south, not knowing what happened to their own families. So some of them didn't know that their family actually survived until like 2 months later. And they still volunteered and took care of patients, and with a smile on their faces. Like, I would be crying, they were telling me their stories and I'm crying. I said, it's okay, that like consoling me. So they have amazing faith. The most common word that you hear in Gaza is Alhamdulillah. Everybody's saying Alhamdulillah. They're unbelievably creative. They're the most generous people. They would give you presents. They don't have anything. The gym, they would make up anything just to give you a present. I did include a picture about some little girls. I gave them toys, and the next day they came with paper bags, a tiny paper bag with a handle. They made it. And they put a note inside of it that says, like in Arabic, shukran ala al-hadiyya al-la'ba, and they gave me a peanut. So that's how amazing those people are. They would always invite you to, they don't have food, but whenever they have food, they will invite you to eat with them. Coffee, anything they have, they will share with you. So, as I said, when you think about them, think about all those challenges that they go through. And remember that half of the population of Gaza is kids, okay? So everywhere you go, you find kids, and they're the most amazing kids. They'll always run, hug you, and talk to you. And some of them, every time we go down the stairs, are just sitting there memorizing Quran, and that was so heartwarming. I had some sessions with them to like give them prizes and stuff, so I'd ask them questions and give them prizes when they answered. And then those are some of the heroes I met, some of the nurses, the journalists, kids. They're just some amazing people. So if anybody asks about the people of Gaza, how to describe them, I would say resilience, not resilient. They are the source of resilience. They are the heroes of the hour. And